Hello, I'm Katie. Welcome to Heartfully Done. Today I'm having a special treat because this is another video with my husband Daniel. We both were interviewed by Jessica. Jessica has also a YouTube channel which is called Native Portuguese. Her channel is about learning European Portuguese. If you're new here, I'm from Germany and my husband Daniel is from Portugal, and learning Portuguese, Portuguese culture is a big thing in our life. In the interview, we talk about Portuguese culture, the Portuguese language, and how it is to be married to a Portuguese, and also how it is to be married to a German from Daniel's point of view. The interview has two parts. Part one is on Jessica's channel, which I will link you in the info cards and also in the video description, and this here is part two. On this channel, I make videos about home organization, about lifestyle, and about travel. If you like this type of content, then consider subscribing. Now let's start with the interview.
Like when you are walking around in Portugal, for example, how do you see, or in Portugal or somewhere else, how do you spot a Portuguese family? What would you say that are the characteristics of the Portuguese family?
My view would not be who's a Portuguese family. It probably would be more like who's not a Portuguese family. When we're in Porto and when we're like doing sightseeing or stuff, then I would like probably spot much faster people from the United States than people from Germany or from Austria or Switzerland. What happens unconsciously is that the languages that are my main languages, they will come to me, and it's more what I hear. It's maybe also what I see, but it's always, standing in a museum and looking at something, and then you hear something in your own language, and then, oh, there's Germans, or I don't know what they are. It sounds not German, but something like that. From which region might they be? Because I usually assume everybody's Portuguese, unless you're a tourist or unless you're an expat.
That's inside and outside. Can you also?
Oh, you mean outside?
Yeah,
if I would be, it's always the language. So it would probably be in the subway, right? Because if you would be in the city and everybody walks here in New York City, there's so many people, you don't see anything. You're just like, I need to go there and I don't want to be hit by other people or by cars or bikes. So you're very focused. So it would be in the subway with the languages that I hear, and it's not how they look. It would be again the language. Oh, this sounds. This could be ush osh. I don't know, like
ush osh. That's very Portuguese. Ush osh.
Yeah, the thing is, this is what I hear when I hear Portuguese.
I love it.
But it's so then, or ow, that's so difficult to say. So yeah, very difficult to say for Germans, or maybe for everybody who is not Portuguese or Brazilian.
Yeah, nasal sounds are very difficult.
So I mean, for me, it would depend on the context. I think in some places it's easier to recognize than others. Like for example, on the beach, it's fairly easy because like the Portuguese family always has like a lunchbox. That's for sure. There is never a Portuguese mom that doesn't bring like a huge lunchbox full of stuff for her kids and for the whole family. That's for sure one of the things that you always recognize in the Portuguese family. The other one is Portuguese people, even when they're on vacation, they always like dress up. So if you see people who are a little bit more dressed up than others, you can probably tell if they are, it might not necessarily be Portuguese from Portugal, it could be like from Brazil as well, but normally they are overdressed because they always want to impress.
Yeah, it depends. If it's the Portuguese that are traveling outside, yes, you could notice that a little bit more.
So how do you see it, Jessica? Because this would be now interesting from another Portuguese person. How do you spot other Portuguese people?
I remember, I think I was in LA and I found someone that he was Portuguese or something, and I was like, oh my god, the Portuguese. That was my first thing, and it was his pace, the way he was speaking. He did a lot more like we do, a little bit of like, it's not like we show, but he's like and then he said the word and I was like, I think that's Portuguese. And it also a little bit in the way he was speaking, a bit more nasal, and I was like, I think those are the mistakes that I make in English. But also I think it has to do as well with facial features a bit. Like Portuguese men have a little bit, most of them have beard or dark hair. So, that could be Portuguese. and we are a bit more loud. I think we are a bit, but not like Brazilians. We are, I think Brazilians do a little bit more hand gestures, like more like warm hand gestures. I think Portuguese are just like, it's more like this, in my view, from what I've seen. And I think Portuguese are always like nice as well. Like when we see them outside, like, and always see like, oh, they don't want to bother. They don't have that attitude of, I need to get there. No, they're more like they're doing their thing. I would really doubt seeing a Portuguese like complaining a lot. It's not so normal. I think we are more relaxed in that manner. I have another question, like Katie, what are the things that you say, okay, I think my husband is Portuguese?
I don't even know. I think often that Daniel is very German. So what is the running gag? So Daniel is usually very punctual and very
Not Portuguese.
and not very Portuguese time-wise. So when I see him, I mean, maybe he looks Portuguese, you know, have dark eyes and dark hair, and then has a little bit of an accent, and of course he knows Portuguese and everything. But then I see him as a very international person because he speaks 6 languages. Then he lived in Germany, he lives here in the United States, he has family in Paris, also speaks French, like all of those things. So I think I more perceive him as a very international being and open to everything and curious. So, but when we're in Portugal, things change because then we have to live with the Portuguese rules.
You have 2 husbands. The one.
No. Oh no, things don't change with him.
That much.
No, things change because we have to adapt to the family. And if they say, oh, at 7 p.m. we will meet to go to have dinner in a restaurant, it does not mean at all that at 7 p.m. people will be there.
No,
so
it's around
already
8.
know that. So yeah, maybe at 9, or maybe things change even more. So I think if we're, or like in Portugal, we will adapt to whatever happens. So it's always, and so I usually always have a snack with me, because if everything takes longer, I can already eat my snack, that I will not get hangry. You always have to bring something to entertain yourself, a book or something, because you never know, will people come or not? I mean, they will come, but you don't know exactly when they will come. And it depends on the person. Yeah, it depends on the person. And yeah, I think I just go with the flow. But when you're on vacation, that's not a problem. It's just that I would not know how I would do this if it's in a work environment. So I don't know how this would be.
Wait, but what do you see in me that you would say, okay, that's Portuguese?
I think you're very polite.
When you think about all the stuff that we do together, or even like the stuff that I eat, small things.
Yeah.
Well, okay, he has like a incredible addiction to certain green foods, like to special cabbage and what is a broccoli wrap and other things. So and special Portuguese soups. And before he was eating vegan, it was always, if there was seafood, then of course, like he was like eating it and swimming in it and like just
swimming
happy about it. And yeah, what else?
By the way, the greens that she's talking about is called grelos.
Grelos.
Okay. So
that's a good word for you to teach.
Grelos. Also, like, what are the things that you see in yourself that you're like, okay, I'm Portuguese? Habits more.
Well, one of the things that I think I see a lot in terms of difference between my culture and her culture is that she always thinks 10 steps ahead. Like, I'm trying to live in the moment. I'm trying to enjoy like my current moment, like where we are right now. And I know that she's already thinking about what she's going to edit, what she's going to put, like the subtitles or something like that, or the music background. She's already thinking like 10 steps ahead about what we're like experiencing right now. And I think that that for me, I always think like, wow, it's like so much effort put into like thinking so many steps ahead that I'm just not used to it. I'm like, when we get there, we'll get there.
Yeah, I think that's more Portuguese, like enjoying a little bit more the present instead of being a bit less strategic, I would say. I would love to ask you, is there a funny moment that you guys had because of being like you came to visit your family?
Well, I mean, mostly the ones related to food have been hilarious for me, but that's just me because I see her like struggling with it. But I don't know if it's very funny for her. But I don't know.
I think probably most things are for food, and some things are for language. So because I speak Spanish and used to live in Argentina, but for example, if there's a word and it ends in O in Portuguese, then you have to pronounce it as a U. And like, for example, Porto. So instead of Porto. So for me, in my German plus Spanish brain, this is an O. Why would you pronounce it as a U? But sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's like an O. And so yeah, and I think this is like often I think, oh, now I got it. It's like this. And then I'm like using my new trick, but then it doesn't work. And then I'm like, oh no, I thought I had it figured it out, but obviously I haven't. So, and that happens all the time, but it's not always a funny moment. It's more like a frustrating moment because it's like, it's very difficult to learn a language when you're not living for a longer time in the culture and in the country. For me, it's best to be in the country. However, when we visit, it's usually for a shorter time. And then it's not about learning any language things. Then it's just being with family, being present. Of course, I'm also planning stuff, right? Because that's who I am and that's part of my brain. So, and so we always try to have a good mixture of let's plan to make the best out of the time and not just like hang out all the time and all. I also want to see something from the culture. I want to see something from the history. For him and for his family, it's all they know that. It's like, oh, of course, they lived there forever, so it's not special. But as I don't know the things, for me it's special. So not this year, it's already like 2022. So but last year, for the first time, I did real sightseeing when we were visiting. So, and I actually saw some stuff for the first time.
She actually made some cool videos about our trip to Portugal. If you're
oh yeah, you guys can check it. I'm gonna put the link either here or here somewhere.
So yeah, I think there's always lots of things to learn, and I like learning not with my head, but like with experiencing things.
Yes.
You walk there, then you see this, then you talk it, because I have this person here that will explain me everything. So I ask the questions, then we experience this, and then I ask more questions, and then yeah. So I really like to be in the country, and so in vacation you can learn about culture, but when you live in a country you can also very much learn the language. It's more difficult to really learn to speak when you're only a tourist.
Have you
I mean, I can learn some words and phrases, but not like really have deeper conversation.
Yeah, but like when you're by yourself in Portugal, imagine like you have to go to the cafe or to the groceries or something. Do you use Portuguese?
Well, we usually always do this together, so I don't go by myself. But then I use Portuguese, but then it's like, hello, goodbye, thank you, have a nice day. It's like those little things. Or I would like to have so and so. Like this is stuff that I can totally say, but I could not ask. Does the price of those green broccoli wraps will be cheaper next week? I mean, I could say that somehow with like very weird gestics and things, but then I would just say, Daniel, can you just ask this? So just it's so convenient. So yeah.
Have you tried to learn the language, or is it something that you want to do like in the future, or at this moment is just you're not thinking about it?
I think about it all the time. I think about it for the last 10 years. And always when we're in Portugal, everybody of the family, not everybody, but a few people, they always remind me that how can it be that I don't get to speak fluent Portuguese? And so my answer is, I want to speak Portuguese, but I don't want to learn it. So, I mean,
she means the effort of having
the work, every day to practice. So what I want is to be in Portugal for longer, and then go to have like a teacher, and then to meet with the, like for example with you, and meet and have somebody who's teaching me, who has patience and who has like skills also, because not every Portuguese person can teach someone else a language. You know, just because you know the language doesn't mean that you're good in teaching
Exactly.
the language. But I would want to have like a routine, for example, like Monday, Thursday, I learn Portuguese, and then I practice, and maybe with other students. So like I'm not the only person, and I want this. But so far in our life, we never could do this, because if we only can visit 1 or 2 weeks, I cannot have such a routine.
What's your favorite Portuguese word?
I think my favorite Portuguese words are olá and obrigada.
It's
Because this means you can start a conversation with somebody. Usually I let them talk and I understand what they're saying, and then I'm nodding, and then at the end I usually say obrigada or something. So that's my way of trying to communicate. I wouldn't call it a favorite word. It's probably the words that I use most often.
The most
But
practical.
I mean because I want to welcome somebody and that they feel seen, and I also want to show them gratitude.
It's very difficult to choose a favorite word for me as a Portuguese. I mean, if I wanted to choose a difficult word that has a lot of Portuguese sounds in it, I probably would choose consternação.
Consternação. Okay.
I can say it. Consternação.
Consternação.
Just then, but if you
well,
want
you have to say what it
more
means.
emotional,
You know, the people don't.
Consternação means if somebody is upset about something that somebody else did in a very formal way.
I like it. So consternação.
But I mean, if you want to put a word that has a little bit more emotional weight into it, probably like saudade or abraço. I love the word abraço. I use it like literally every day.
I will change. I mean, I will not change, but I will add a word to my words, beijinho. So I think that's the sound, and so that's all the time happening. So that's also how I end conversations. Of course, not with strangers, but with family.
Oh, beijinho.
And then kisses.
Oh, stranger, come here,
beijinho. Yeah. So yeah, but to send kisses and to have like a warm goodbye.
Muito obrigada. It was wonderful. Thank you so much. I hope everything goes well in the US and everything. So stay healthy and well. Obrigada.
The same for you. The same for you.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Ciao.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, like the video, and tell me in the comments what resonated with you. If you ever wanted to learn European Portuguese or improve your Portuguese, consider subscribing to Jessica's channel, because she has well-made videos with lots of information. And just as an example, she has one video about how to sing happy birthday in Portuguese. And for me, this is very, very helpful, and there's many other helpful videos. And she's so kind and has lots of joy in her, and I enjoy watching her videos because of that. I also linked her channel in the video description, so you can check it out. Thank you so much for watching. I wish you a great, great day. Bye!